It's time for the Coach Groves Show, where we sit down with the head coach of the Darlington Tigers football team and talk about all things Darlington School football. Now we go live to Matt Davis and Ian Griffin, who are standing by with Coach Wayne Groves.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome in to another Coach Groves Show. And this time for October the 9th, 2024, we're glad you're with us. And we're very glad to have the head coach of the Darlington Tigers with us. Coach Groves is in the building. And Coach Groves, how are you today, sir?
Doing very well. Glad to be back at the show after a week off and a bye week. But we're excited about some Darlington Tigers football this week and getting back at it.
Absolutely. And I felt like a good place to start, Coach, was to jump in and talk about the last game, which was ahead of the bye week. And, of course, it was an exciting one. It was one of those games, Coach, that, you know, if you were at the game, it's one of those ones people are going to talk about forever. Instant classic game. You guys were down 20-7 with less than 3 minutes to go. Overcome, win the game. The dots had to connect perfectly for that to happen. So just walk us through the last few minutes of the game from your perspective. Definitely a lot of ebb and flow in terms of emotions and things of that nature. So we're putting a lot of pressure on you here because there's a lot to unpack for sure.
Well, the first thing I want to do is, just brag on our kids on how hard and, again, how resilient they are to just keep fighting until the last whistle blows. The next thing is I just want to brag on our assistant coaches. I mean, as the game goes, they just keep coaching and keep coaching. And Coach Loudermilk's our offensive coordinator. He coaches the offensive line, does an excellent job with those guys. Coach Powers is coaching our quarterbacks. Coach Abel's coaching our receivers. Coach Collier, he's in charge of our special teams and our defensive backs, and Coach Chapman coaching the D-line. And these guys are excellent coaches on the field. If you come to our practices, I mean, there is no standing around. Kids are getting reps. There's energy at practice. Everybody's running around. There's no walking at practice. And it's because of things like that put us in these situations where our kids are ready to perform, because we demand a lot of them at practice, and we demand that they execute at practice. And so we get in those situations. It doesn't surprise me that our kids rise to the occasion when the opportunity presents itself. So there we are. It's 2 minutes, 52 seconds. In the fourth quarter, and we're down 20-7. We get a stop. We stop them on defense. Our kids, they drove down. Pepperell drove down to about the 30-yard line, and we get a stop. And so we get the ball back. And Pepperell had been really heavy on our sprint out game. I mean, they know we like to sprint Sammy out and give him kind of some run pass options there. So they're flying to the sprint out. So we thought, all right, let's try the sprint draw. It's something that we probably should have ran earlier in the ball game, just because they were flying so hard. But I'm kind of glad we didn't, because it set up at the perfect time where we sprint out, give it to Miles coming back, and man, he just hit another gear. I mean,
I don't think none of us have seen him run that fast before. That was,
I told him, I said, well, we got your first play, your highlight, for sure. But, that 4.4 speed, they said he ran at Vanderbilt and Wake Forest this summer. There's no doubt that he's got that, because he kicked it into another gear. A couple Pepperell players that are good athletes and have some speed themselves had angles on him, and he outran them. So that kind of gave us a spark and said, oh, we got a chance at this thing. Kicked the extra point. Obviously, at that point in the ball game, you got to go for the onside kick, and so we went onside right, which we got an offsides penalty on. In high school football, you can't decline that as the defense. So you just back it up. You could keep being offsides for 20 times. You just be kicking it from your own end zone, trying to onside kick it. So I decided, well, let's go ahead and flip it. Maybe Pepperell just saw us onside kick it to the right. They shift everybody over to the right. Let's kind of catch them off guard. Let's flip it. So we went onside to the left. And Ade just kicked one perfect. I mean, just a gem. And Henry Ledbetter jumps up and makes a heck of a play. So, again, there's still hope, man. We're starting to gain the momentum. And then we got down to a 4th and 8. And Coach Loudermilk, hands off to the offensive staff. Coach Loudermilk said, well, let's run the hook and ladder. All right. And so I'm like, well, it's a great time to do it. The only thing is we haven't really repped this thing at practice.
Oh, man.
So we've got a play that sets it up. We call it East Corvette. We're going to sprint out. We're going to send the number 1 receiver on a curl. Number 2 is going to go on a wheel, and the number 3 guy goes to the flat. And so it was a good time to do it. I said, yes, let's do it. And so we just told Bodie Powers, when you go in motion, he's going to catch the curl, just wheel it up. He's going to pitch it to you. He said, do what? I said, yes. I said, he's going to catch the curl. They're backed off. I said, he's going to pitch it to you. You go up the sideline. So sure enough, we get the perfect look. They're backed off. Jace runs the curl. Sammy hits the curl. Bodie comes and wheels up the sideline, pitches it to him. 4th and 8, we get the first down. So now we're really knocking on the door there. And then we want to go sprint out back the other way with Sammy. They flew really hard to it, rotated everybody over. And then he scrambled back to the right, made a kid miss, and there was no doubt he was going to be denied getting in the end zone. I mean, he was going to will it to happen. So we get in there, hit the extra point. Still had to stop him. So we kick it back off to them, pin them back, and they get a little bit going down there. And so the last play of the ball game, you got 2 seconds left, and they get into the lateral game. And they had done this before against Pickens, and if they don't get a block in the back, they beat Pickens on a lateral on the last play. So it's something that they definitely have practiced. But it goes back and forth about the 30-yard line. You get a forward lateral right there. The kid's on the 33-yard line. He pitches it forward to about the 31-yard line, and then he goes down the sideline, and we knock him out of bounds on about the 3 or 4-yard line. And the ball game clock's run out, ball game's over. We get 2 personal fouls. I'm sure our guys told them, very good game and all that kind of thing over there. But then what transpired after that was the refs, came to me, the initial met, and they were going to give a 5-yard, it's going to be a 5-yard penalty because of the forward lateral. So they're going to take it back there to the 31-yard line, move it back 5 yards. After that, they're going to enforce 2 dead ball personal fouls on us, half the distance, which would give them 1 untimed down on the 6-yard line. The only problem with that is you can't have 2 dead ball personal fouls when the ball game is done and clock hits 0. Any other time they've been 1 second on the clock, that would apply. But that's not going to extend the half on that. And so that's what the debate was. And so when the ref came over, he told me what they were going to do. I said, no, you can't do that. I said, when you got a forward lateral and the ball goes out of bounds, that's done. The personal fouls do not extend after the clock hits 0. And so he looked a little bit worried. They got together, and kudos to them for getting together and not just making a knee-jerk reaction, but talking through it with all the officials and making sure they got it right. And so the head official, the white hat, called me or sent me an email the next day, and he thanked me. He said, thank you for giving that perspective right there. And I'm so glad I did it because, we could have lost the ball game like that on a rule misinterpretation. So, we ended up getting the call right. And, the personal fouls don't come into play because the clock hits 0 and the Tigers win. So what an amazing, thrilling game. I mean, it was really fun to watch. I mean, like you said, just an instant classic that people will remember, the lateral at the lakeside, so.
And again, everything had to happen just perfect to come out with that victory, and it all lined up. I've never seen anything in my life like it, and I would be willing to bet we'd probably never see anything just like that again. I mean, it was crazy.
I've got some artwork at the house of some great plays and teams that I watched history. So you need to get that sprint draw. You should have it mapped out in Darlington purple and white and frame that bad boy. That's a play y'all ran a lot last year with D-Man. We haven't seen it a lot this year, and it just. I mean, you dialed the perfect play at the perfect time.
Yeah, it was a good time to do it. And then, credit Coach Loudermilk and their offensive guys for seeing those things and making those calls, and the kids for executing.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of decisions have to be made, and everything, as Matt said, has to be executed under tons of pressure to pull off a game like this. How do you stay calm and keep your composure on the sideline in that situation?
Well, I think it's one of those things where just, years of coaching experience, keep you grounded and keep you focused. I mean, I've been doing this 22 years. I've been in a ton of big ball games and intense situations, state championship games, region championship games. And so, the main thing is, like we talk to the kids, we want to have that next play mentality. We want to stay focused. And us as coaches, if something good happens, you want to celebrate it real quick and then get back down. If something bad happens, we want to coach it, correct it, and keep moving. So we're just locked in on it as the game unfolds and just trying to just coach and correct and keep improving as the game goes on.
Well, we've already talked about him in this show there in the first segment, and really enjoyed hearing you break that down from your perspective, all the nuances of what took place in the game last week that had to happen for that victory to take place. But last game's Honeymoon Bakery player of the game was
Henry Ledbetter.
He says it best, so I had to let him do the honors there. But he had 8 tackles, 4 tackles for losses, 2 sacks, a fumble recovery, as you mentioned, onside kick recovery, in the 21-20 victory over Pepperell. So just let's talk about his performance. And obviously, we've talked about it a couple of times already this season, what he means to the team, what he brings to the table in terms of his preparation and willingness to get out there and help the team no matter what that looks like. So talk about Henry Ledbetter a little bit.
Well, I'm super proud of Henry, and I love to coach Henry. I mean, he's what you want in a football player. He's going to be on time. He's going to work hard. He's going to be a leader. He's going to lead by example first. And, we talk to the kids all the time that success is when preparation meets opportunity, and he works his tail off every day and has since I've met him 2 years ago. And so he's just reaping what he sowed, and it couldn't come to a better kid, So, he's a high character kid. He's a 4.0 GPA. He's 6'2", 6'2.5", 6'3", 220 pounds, So, I think some colleges are come knocking on the door. He's starting to make a name for himself in this Northwest Georgia area as far as, being an impact player. So, hats off to Henry, really, really proud of him. And he's going to keep being a key factor for us.
Well, the scene at Chris Hunter last week was something else. Tiger fans lingered a little bit longer than usual to savor the moment after the game. I saw you sharing a lot of great moments with your team, coaches, family members, friends. Me and Matt even came to pay you a visit on the field, which isn't our customary behavior after a game. We had to come say hello. But what was the celebration like for you as the head coach of this team?
Well, the first thing, just want to tell the boys how proud of them I am. How much, they're inspiring to watch. Just a team of 33 kids that overachieve, that just care for Darlington and care for each other and love their coaches and just want to play and represent us the right way. And so, I told them how much I loved them. I probably don't do that enough. I try to always let them know how much I care about them and all that type of thing. But, and then I shared the fact of where that mentality comes from. Every team doesn't have that mentality, and every team doesn't have the same culture that we have. But that's something that we've built, and that's something that we've tried to let the kids identify with. And then, I shared with the fans and the families out there of what that Jolly Roger and the black shirt and what all that means. And we've talked about that a little bit on the show, but it's something we preach to the kids all the time. That in the early Army days that the Army flew the Jolly Roger, the black skull and crossbones flag as an opposite to the white surrender flag, which meant that we'll never back down, that we'll never quit, we'll never surrender, that we're going to play as hard as we can until they drag us off the field. And so that's something that we talk about. When I first interviewed for the Darlington job, I told the kids, I held up that white helmet and I told them, this is what I think about Darlington. When I see this white helmet with that purple paw, I think of just kids just giving their all, just getting drug off the field, just pouring in sweat because they played both ways and they've given everything for the school in a win. And we're getting that. And so it's a special thing. And I'm just really proud to be a part of it and to be able to give this to Darlington.
I feel like I need to turn around and run through that wall right there. That speech, man. I'm fired up myself.
Well, I mean,
My
your
goodness.
team had in that game. There's plenty of reasons to roll over and play dead, but they never do.